Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we are looking at the Thai Clutch Ugly. So this is a tri-fighter known colloquially by both its users and targets as the Clutch. It is an ugly starfighter used by several parties: Moff Leona Trevira and her gang of pirates, and the Invids use them. I'm looking at Invids and I'm thinking Macross, so I do apologize. All right, the rebel privateer Eurus Zion, I'm trying to figure out exactly how to pronounce that, has or had several of these fighters, among other uglies, on board of his starship, the Freelance. Clutches were also used as escort fighters when the population of Dubrillion was evacuated from Dantui. So, characteristics. The clutch consisted of a TIE IN starfighter ball cockpit and ion engines. The three triangular fins set 120 degrees apart, with one fin above the cockpit and two below. Windows were cut into the sides of the ball cockpit to give the pilot a better field of vision. Clutches were slightly slower than the X Wing fighters, but more maneuverable. Um, and also had an unusual but convenient layout of controls, featuring a couple of pedals used for cutting quick turns, and the thrust and repulsor throttles could be turned off by pulling their respective knobs out, which the starfighter was wired to read as compensating to halt the movement in question, rather than merely seizing thrust. This allowed a pilot to kill the ship's movement with a quick yank and re-engage it just as quickly. Possibly a quick turn added in there to further shake uh, attackers. Unlike Imperial TIE series starfighters, the Clutch had basic shields, granting it better survivability. Weaponry consisted of two laser cannons mounted below the cockpit, similar to the TIE fighter. The Clutch also had an ion cannon mounted on the tip of the top fin. The lower two fins served as landing gear. Though the Clutches were sometimes referred to as tri-fighters, they were not to be confused with the earlier droid tri-fighters used by the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the later years of the Clone Wars. So, this comes to us from iJedi and the New Jedi Order Dark Tide 1 Onslaught. And the source itself comes from Scum and Villainy, brought to us from Wizards of the Coast when they had the franchise. Um, so it gave us a little bit here. Now on Wikipedia, if I could say it correctly here this morning, they don't really give us a lot of like a picture or anything. And one thing I do want to note, because this is not the first time that I've seen this, um, whenever they talk about the TIE fighter, usually it's the TIE IN starfighter that they're talking about, but for whatever reason, it's been put in here on numerous occasions as a TIE LN. The IN is TIE Interceptor. Um, that's what the IN is really referring to. It's the TIE Interceptor, not to be confused with the later TIE Interceptor, which is just a TIE Interceptor. It's not /IN. Um, One of the things and I think we've hit maybe just a little bit on this, because they used the base TIE fighter when they had upgraded it to what we're used to. They had done like your an early bomber was like your ground assault. They had some for running extra radar. You had scout ones. You had different variations. So that's where the /IN, GN, whatever, all comes in. So it's not LN, it's actually IN. So I'm not changing anything on here. That whoever put this in took the time. They deserve the credit for actually going through and looking a lot of this stuff up. It is very helpful for a lot of people. Um, To be honest, I'm using it as a little bit of a cheat so I don't have to look up as much. Sometimes, if I get the information saying it's in this book, I'll grab that book because I have a lot of them. I didn't pick up as much of the D20 from Wizards of the Coast because I already had the D6. And like I said before, when we're kind of looking through the rules, some things kind of felt a little off. People complain that when you use a Jedi, it feels like you're hurting yourself to use the Force. Um, BioWare, who got bought out by God only knows who, probably Electronic Arts later, but BioWare, when they had done Knights of the Old Republic video game, they solved some of those issues for running Jedi. But there was still some other things going on. I do like to grab their book as far as how to run a Jedi. Um, if you can find one of their manuals that they had that came with the game, it did kind of fix some of this. But that's neither here nor there. Today we're looking at the TIE Clutch. Um, we'll kind of transfer. Okay, so here we have the Clutch Ugly. As you see on the screen here, if you are able to see, if you're not, it has the ball. It has an elongation cylinder in the back behind the ball that the wings actually attach to. It has a very nice design look to it. Although I do have one slight problem with the way this is set up. The entry into the cockpit is actually from the top. So um, it's a great looking fighter. There would have to be a hinge on the wing, which I'm not seeing that there isn't. Um, but I'm just going to point out the entry into the TIE Fighter is actually from the top. So um, we would have to have a hinge on the top. There probably would be, or something there, so that way they could do this. But um, anyways, it is a game. It's all fine. We can have our imagination run wild. All right. So continuing on here, this is general alignment during the Rebellion era starfighter scale. It is a length of 6.2 meters long. Has a crew of one. Cargo capacity is 60 kilograms, and we have a maneuverability of 3D plus 1. So, like what we were reading, it does have a better maneuverability. That is actually pretty respectable. Has a space of 11, which is nothing really to kind of sneeze at, poo poo, whatever you want to say. That is actually really respectable. Atmospheric flight, it goes 1,350 kilometers an hour, which is pretty fast. Hull is 2D plus 2, so it is a slightly upgraded hull. Has shields of 1D plus 2, which is a little bit below what I would consider average, but the fact that we don't typically have shields on TIE fighters, this is a wonderful upgrade to it. Our sensor packet here, we have passive scanning at 1.5 kilometers. We can actively scan at 3 kilometers. We can search out to 5 kilometers and focus only out to about 300 meters, which isn't too bad. All right, looking at our laser cannons, of course, they're fire linked, and I missed that one. Try to keep them together. I don't know why the computer does that, but it does. All right, so they're fire linked. Has a fire control of 2D and a damage of 60. So that's pretty respectable there. Our ion cannon has a fire control of 1D and a damage of 4D. All in all, being used for pirates and everything else, this could become really deadly, especially when we have a bunch of them. You could have a small group here, even though they're not they don't have any hyperdrive or anything else. They're still going to be ship based. To be able to use a tractor beam to maybe push things into shipping lanes or to try and capture someone. Actually, no, I'm thinking tractor beams. This ion cannons. I apologize. My mind isn't working this morning. I've already been out and about. All right, trying to reset my mind here for a second. With the ion cannon, you can disable vessels instead of just flat out destroying them. allowing some other ship to dock with them, maybe steal their cargo, maybe even take over the ship, whatever. Um, Having that other ship maybe having the tractor beams or whatever, so they can force something in, pull people out of hyperdrive. They're kind of unaware of what's going on, and um, think of it in this regard. When we watch what is now Episode 4, Star Wars: A New Hope, Han comes out of the cockpit and says, "Hey, we're on our way," or whatever. Imagine that confidence to say, we're traveling in hyperspace. Coordinates are all locked in. You're taking a nap or something else, or just playing the 3D chess or whatever it is, and suddenly you're pulled out of there and wondering what's going on. Now you have to quick run to the cockpit to figure out what's going on, to assess the situation, and here you're under attack already. So it's kind of one of those situations. Um, that's one of the beautiful things of how they describe the pirates attacking vessels. So, all right. Well, with that, another interesting ship that we don't typically get to see, but it's a wonderful looking design. Um, there is no cost associated with it. It isn't ugly, so you can use it at your own whim for however you want to do it. If you want to leave it just in the hands of pirates, go for it. Or if you want to give it off to characters in your own game or whatever as a starting ship, that'd be pretty cool. Either way, here we are. Hope you enjoyed the series. I enjoy bringing it to you every day. We'll see you in the next video.